Grief has a way of breaking a person, but the 1999 film Asunder asks what happens when that break becomes permanent.
Chance Williams loses everything, and in his desperate search for connection, he destroys the very people trying to help him heal.
It's a film where love turns into obsession and friendship dissolves into something unrecognizable.
This isn't just a story about death. It's about how grief can eat through the soul like acid when left unchecked.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. The executive producer of this video is Regis Hale, who requested this film through Axiom Amnesia's Deep Dive on Demand program that we'll tell you more about later.
There are going to be spoilers if you want to see this movie later on without spoilers.
Yes. And so Asunder was actually directed by Tim Reid. He is best known for his work in TV, but he's taken on this dark psychological thriller kind of tone with this film. And if you can't think of who he is offhand, Tim Reid, he used to play on WKRP in Cincinnati, but if you're a little bit younger than that, you might remember him as the daddy off of Sister, the movie with the twins. So the movie stars Blair Underwood, Debbie Morgan, and Michael Beach as kind of the three main characters that we see. And of course, they're all veteran actors who have been around forever, and they can, do pretty well in telling these complex emotional stories. So with this film being released in the late 90s, we have to put it in context because watching it later, some of the plot twists might feel a little bit cliche, but that's because at the time when this came out, we might not have seen so many movies that had these kind of twists and turns and stuff.
And then we ain't seen no black movies either.
Right.
Doing it.
Right. So it's a black psychological thriller of its time, and probably one of the earlier ones that, was put out. And so it's kind of in the vein of movies that came out in the 80s and early 90s, like Fatal Attraction or Single White Female. But it does have this unique lens on black folks, which is, makes it, I think, pretty interesting, and an interesting angle to explore. So like we mentioned, we have Blair Underwood, who is one of the stars. He plays Chance, and we have Debbie Morgan and Michael Beach, right? So Debbie Morgan playing Lauren and Michael Beach playing Michael. Lauren and Michael are married, and then Chance had a wife who was pregnant, and we'll get to that story in just a second. First, I would just like to let you guys know that we do have new merch, and you'll be able to see it below this video. It's kind of linked in the description where you can purchase merch if you're interested, but we do have new logo hoodies and t-shirts that are available. We're coming into hoodie season, so it's a great time to do that and a great way to support the channel. So you'll see those links in the description. But let's get to the summary of what actually happened in this movie. Now, the movie opens and we see two couples at the fair. The two couples we see are Lauren and Michael. That's Debbie Morgan and Michael Beach's character, who are a couple. And then we also see Blair Underwood, who's Chance, and we see his pregnant wife, Roberta, who's played by Marva Hicks, right? And so two couples hanging together. Sounds, fun. And they're walking around at this fair carnival kind of thing. Michael and Lauren are kind of bickering a little bit while they're there. Lauren was ready to leave, and, Michael doesn't want to leave. And Michael comes off as really, really obnoxious and annoying, even just right from the beginning. At the same time, we see the Chance is taking pictures all over the place, and, clearly he's a photographer. But, Michael apologizes to Lauren, who, and so she agrees to stay. So everybody's kind of ready to go, but he's like, no, one more ride or whatever. So then Roberta starts having some pregnancy pains or whatever, and then she's fine. And then Michael starts messing with Roberta, who is not his wife. She's Chance's pregnant wife. he's just like, oh, you haven't been on a ride the whole time. And he's pressuring her to get on a ride and, do whatever. And I'm like, okay, at what point do pregnant women get on rides at any, like if you've ever been to like Six Flags or whatever, I think it's like the sign says if you're, pregnant or over 55 or 60, whatever, some age, that you shouldn't be riding like the roller coasters or anything that's going to be jostling you around. So I thought that was a little weird, but maybe it just adds up to Michael being a butthole. But he's messing with her, and so he's like, yeah, all right. So she agrees to go on a ride, and they pick the Ferris wheel. Now, as the film is opening and we're seeing the credits, we do see that the Ferris wheel, they're like pointing to like bolts and parts of the Ferris wheel. I'm like, is this thing going to fall apart? What's going to happen? Because, there's this foreboding kind of feeling that you get at this point in the film because you just know something is going to happen. So the couple's going, how you have the seat on a Ferris wheel, two couples sit in one seat and then they move the Ferris wheel a little so they could load it up and the other next two couple get on. So when Roberta, the pregnant one, and Chance get on, Chance's jacket is caught between the latch of the Ferris wheel and, to be able to close it. So the bar that goes in front of them is clearly not going to be
realistic because
secure.
Bruh,
it could happen. Listen, these
go.
traveling carnivals, if you see listen, ain't nobody inspecting them things right. You chancing your life every time you get on something like that. And we see the videos that are on social media where people are sharing like disasters that have happened on these carnival rides. But anyway, so they get on the ride. So at some point the ride stops. Could have been just to let people on and off. Because, if you ride a Ferris wheel, they put everybody on and then they take everybody off, but you got to kind of wait for your turn to get on and off. And so there's points where the Ferris wheel is not spinning. So while it's stopped, Michael is being a butthole again. And he starts making the seat that they're sitting in swing back and forth with him and his wife. And she's like, quit. And he's being obnoxious. So, of course, Chance, monkey see, monkey do, decides he's going to swing his seat too. And his wife tells him to stop. Because, look, she's pregnant and, she probably gets sick easily. Why are you swinging his seat to act like a fool? But anyway, he does. And then he swing that seat one too many times. The bar comes out. Michael falls.
Why are you almost laughing?
Because it was ridiculous, but it was tragic. So Michael falls out and he's holding on to the seat from below.
No, that's Chance.
That's what I meant to say. Chance falls out and he's holding on to, like the bar, the part, because it swings open. And his wife doesn't fall out immediately, but she's kind of back on the seat trying to hold on and not fall because also it's tilted. The seat is going to tilt because the weight of the person dragging it down. So imagine you can't just sit in the seat upright anymore. His weight is bobbing that seat in a way that is making her fall out because he's holding on, trying not to fall too. When I tell you that she just can't hold on and falls stomach down onto the ground, it's like, boom. And they showed it like her falling. It's like, oh, that wasn't good. So then he like wiggles a little and then he just lets himself drop and he falls so that he could try to get to his wife. But she's going to be jacked up. But then, of course, like every movie, you see them racing down the hallway. After this tragedy, oh, I hope she's okay and whatever. They're like, mister, you got to you can't come in. We got to work on her, right? So the doctor comes out to tell what's up and he's like, we did all we can, but your wife and your baby are dead. So Chance just breaks down and he starts crying. Lauren goes and holds him and is crying with him. And of course, Michael feels like a butthole that he is and blames himself because, everybody wanted to leave the fair. He's like, everybody wanted to leave the fair. And, he insisted that they stay. And if they hadn't stayed, none of this would have ever happened. Right. So the next scene is the funeral for the baby and Roberta and it's sad gospel music that's playing over a montage of, like returning home after the funeral and all that. So Lauren and Michael have opened their home to Chance, who's going to stay with them because, being in his house is probably horrible and, they don't want him to be alone. They're really good friends. So he's going to stay with them and they're like, stay with us as long as you want to. So Chance then turns and comforts both of them. He's like, it's okay to say her name and the baby's name and to mention it. Like, you don't have to keep trying to protect me from all of this. And at this point, Chance is also walking with a cane because he, fell from, once he let himself down and he had hurt his leg. So Lauren and Michael, after Chance leaves the room, are talking about Chance and, how is he doing better? And Michael is like, well, he's keeping up a good face, but it's got to be hard for him and whatnot. So then Lauren and Michael, like, clearly they seem like they got issues with their marriage. So Lauren and Michael are talking and there's tension and whatever. And Michael starts talking about how much Chance wanted that child. And Lauren and Michael start arguing because he's insisting that he's going to work. And she's like, I thought we were going to take off time from work so that we could be here to help support Chance through what he's going through. And he's like, well, I'm taking half days, but I got to go to work or whatever. And then Lauren is mad and she's like, you just self-involved and you don't care. And then it comes out in that conversation that Michael also has this resentment because he wants a baby, and Lauren is saying that she is not ready for a baby at that time, and apparently at some point in the past had told him that she needs some space from the marriage and all of this, and she isn't ready for kids. So he's disgruntled for these reasons. So they're arguing and whatever downstairs, and he's leaving. Well, you look up to the window, Chance is watching from upstairs, and he hears their argument. So then Chance is crying later, and he's reliving the memories of Roberta's death and everything that happened. And Michael calls Chance, and he's like, where's Lauren or whatever? And he's like, oh, I guess she's down there. I can go down there and see. And, clearly because there was tension, he makes a reference to, well, you want me to do something or whatever. And he says, well, yeah, you can, Michael says, well, yeah, you can wrap your hands around her throat and squeeze a little and even though this is an insensitive thing to joke about, like, he's joking, he's not serious, but she's annoying him and he's pissed and annoyed because of that. And then Chance says, well, that's the least I can do. Wait, what? So then he goes outside to where Lauren is, and he puts his hands around her throat from the back, and then he comes up and acts like he's just joking, and then he just sits down. So I was like, oh, this dude is real creepy. And so it comes out during that conversation that Chance and Lauren must have had an affair or something like that, because Lauren mentions how she had betrayed Roberta. I was like, oh, this is about to be some salacious stuff. So you got two friends who are couples, and two of the folk in the opposite couple are sleeping with each other. I was like, oh. So then, of course, we find out Michael, of course, doesn't know that his best friend been sleeping with his wife or had an affair with her in the past. And Michael comes to greet, his wife in bed later that night. And then who lurking around the corner looking but Chance? Like, Chance did that for most of the rest of the movie. He just watching and waiting and looking. It's the most creepiest, weird thing. But I guess this is the psychological thriller part of the film. So Chance and Michael go to Chance's house, and Chance goes in his room and starts smelling his wife's clothes, and he's missing her and everything. It's really kind of sad to see. But then Michael is like, all right, man, let's go, come on, because he don't want him to get too far into his feelings. But Chance is annoyed by this, so he attacks Michael and start beating him up and stuff like that, because he kept, basically harassing him about come out of here and I'll come back and get whatever you need from your house. So then when they get home, Michael tells Lauren that Chance had attacked him, and he's like, look, you don't know him like I know him. He got a dark side. And I was thinking, she know him better than you think she know him, but does she know his dark side? Like, this is wild, So the lawyer,
that's weird.
What?
Hey, you don't know my friend like I know my friend. He got a dark side.
What you know about him? And why you bringing people with a dark side around?
Dark side.
So next we see Chance and Lauren in the lawyer's office. And the lawyer says they have a settlement offer, related to this accident. But basically the amount of the offer is what it is because the other side said it was y'all's group's behavior that caused the accident. You was sitting on that thing, rocking it and whatever. You caused the accident. So they like, this the money we gonna give. And so they have to think about whether they want to accept it. And so then Chance and Lauren spent some time together walking around or whatever. And he's being flirtatious with her, saying stuff like, you should come and keep me warm and all of this and that. So next thing you know, they're at like a outdoor art fair or something, and they're posing for an artist to do a drawing of them. And the artist encourages them, hey, act like you know one another or whatever. So the artist is like, yeah, and sit on her lap and whatever. So then she goes, sits on his lap. She's uncomfortable with it, but he's drawing. And finally, she gets up and goes and look, aren't you finished yet? And the artist is finishing and whatever. So now they got this picture of the two of them looking like a hot couple. And it just is very weird and awkward. So then the artist asks if they're married, and she's like, no, we ain't married or whatever. And basically it's told like, hey, she has a wife, and she has a husband. And the artist is like, oh no, we're not married. So he's still thinking they're together. And then he's like, well, what are you waiting for? Talking to Chance. And he's like, well, she's, got a husband and whatever. And then he's like, so I got to get rid of her husband first. Okay, he said that in front of Lauren. That should have been a huge red flag. But anyway, nothing is a red flag. And then they continue to go on just like almost like a date. They hanging out.
Almost like.
Well, a date, basically. They're hanging out with each other after. And Chance is talking about later when they walking around, why didn't he and Lauren get married instead of him marrying the wife he married and her marrying Michael? And Lauren is like, hey, look, we got to forget the past. You need to get over that. And what happened with us was just, like it's done. And Chance just laughs. So then he tells Lauren, hey, I need your friendship now more than ever. And he makes it, he is sure to say the word friendship, but that surely ain't what he's looking for. So they watching the sunset together. He got his arm around her, and she's like, I don't think this is how friends behave. And they leaning in, they just about to kiss, but then she stopped short. And then they get home and they're laughing. You know how every, movie you get that scene where somebody is sitting there waiting, but two people come home and they giggling and laughing and kikiing, and the person is home by themselves.
In the dark.
Yes. And that's what happens with Michael. Michael is in the dark, like, where y'all been? I need to know what's going on because this is inappropriate kind of stuff. So Michael tells him, they have an exchange back and forth. She's like, well, we were just at the attorney and we were celebrating, and they have a settlement and whatever. And Michael is like, go to the attorney, get your check, and get your behind up out my house. Because, now he's thinking something is going on with that dude and his, his best friend and his wife up in his crib, and he don't like it. And so Lauren says that, to him when they get by themselves, hey, Chance shouldn't move out like this. It shouldn't be like this with the tension between the two of you all. Y'all have to make up first. So Michael says that, hey, look, that's my friend, but I don't want my friend screwing my wife. So he comes out just saying it and, straight out like what he's thinking and whatnot. So Michael then says that Roberta, that's Chance's, dead wife, the dead pregnant wife, had come to him and asked him if Chance was having an affair. And he was like, I hope, were you that person? Were you? And Lauren smacks him. And
Lauren smacked Mike because she was cheating with Chance.
Yeah, like, because he was right about it. And so then she looking crazy or whatever after he asked if it was her that he was cheating with. And right at this point in the film, we get a billboard with Matthew 19:6. And it was a blaring message. In fact, when we saw it, you were like, they must want us to look at that. So we need to look at that.
Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder.
Yes. And if you ever watch the soap operas, if you watch anything and you of a certain age, you know that these are part of the wedding vows that are read at these religious wedding ceremonies, right? And this is a quote from the Bible, obviously. And so that's where we get the title of the film, Asunder, right? And let no man put it asunder. So we have this reference that's on a billboard. And then in the next scene, what we see is... It was so crazy. In the next scene, we see Chance standing in front of a collage of all these pictures of Lauren on the wall at his house. Possibly, well, he definitely is naked from the top to the waist and maybe even from the waist down, but we don't know. But he's clearly obsessed because, that is the message for obsessed. Whenever you see somebody with a collage and a bunch of photographs up on the wall of one person, that means that they crazy. That's what it means in the movies. So right then, Lauren shows up to tell him, she's at his door. He comes, got his robe on or whatever. She's like, oh man, Chance, she telling Chance, Michael is on to us, and so was Roberta. And she's like, well, he couldn't possibly know about the abortion, Chance says. Wait, the abortion? We didn't know about the abortion. What's going on? So the dialogue is just revealing these little tidbits of extra stuff, and it gets worse every time they open their mouth and say something about what their past was. So she's like, Michael can't find out about this. Promise me. And she's like, I came here to say goodbye and let you know what was up, but I'm not trying to. And he's like, Chance is like, he can't take you away from me. And then he started coming all up on her and started kissing her. And before you know it, her toes are pointed north and he knocking it down once again.
Wow.
Michael done slept at work. Lauren is alone in her bed the next day after she done laid up with his best friend. And later, she's at the house in the tub because she got to try to wash all that sin away. But she laying in the tub and Chance done snuck in and stole her underwear that are like laying on the floor and started sniffing on it. I'm like, why does he have to act so crazy? So Lauren hears something and then she look, because it's like, she heard a noise. So she goes to try to investigate what this is. And then she sees, Michael has come and he's standing there and, he's, they're talking and he's like, look, I could either stay or I could go, but I want to stay. And he, like we can work on this marriage. I want my marriage. And he's like, but I want to stay. And he's like, well, what do you want? And she's like, I want my marriage. I'm like, man, you still got this man's stench up on your body from last night. And you like, I want my marriage. I had a really hard time feeling sorry for her. At this point in the film, because not only did you violate with your husband's best friend and your friend, she was friends with Chance's wife. So you violated on two people and now you over here like, I want my marriage. But you just let this man lay you down just the night before. Like, what are we doing? So her and Michael kiss and then he leaves back for work. Soon as the door closes, Chance pops out and he asks, does Michael know? And he starts basically being threatening in the way like, well, maybe I think we should tell him, kind of like they want to reveal that they having an affair, which is what he wants to do. But that isn't what she wants because she's trying to be with her husband. So Chance then calls Lauren Roberta, another telltale sign that they'll also drop in movies where somebody's supposed to be crazy, right? They start calling you the name of somebody that's a dead loved one of theirs or whatever. And so she's like, I'm not Lauren, so we getting that going on too. So Lauren tells him to leave, but he just becomes even more deranged. And later on, we see Chance burning pictures of Lauren and cutting himself and stuff. Like he is just off the deep end. And he starts stalking her while she's out. He's taking pictures of her because remember, he's a photographer. He was taking pictures from the moment we saw him in the very first scene. So meanwhile, there's this woman named Monica who approaches Michael at work. He's like at the top of a parking structure. She pulls up or whatever. And they apparently have been having an affair at some point in the past, but he wants to break it off. He like, I'm in love with my wife and it ain't happening no more. And she's still being extra flirty. Oh, well, no problem, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm working things out with my wife. But Monica leans forward and she kisses Michael all, like trying to still entice him so that, to keep keep her in his memory banks just good enough that if he want to come back, he can. So Chance, though, is taking pictures of this. He's perched up like Chance can be everywhere at once because he's taking pictures of Monica kissing Michael.
Bruh, every time she turned around, he was behind her.
Yes.
Anytime anybody turned around, he was behind
was
him.
Chance. Chance was there. Like, how is it that crazy people get these special powers that somehow they can be everywhere at once? And so.
Want us to cover your favorite movie ASAP? A one-time contribution of just $50 or more to Axiom Amnesia gets you a deep dive on demand, a 30-minute discussion on any film you choose.
It's easy. Step 1, send $50 via our website, axiom.app, where you can pay via card, Apple Pay, or you can pay directly via Cash App at $Axiom Amnesia. See the links below. Step 2, tell us your movie, email, the name you want to appear on screen, and what kind of deep dive you want. General, a specific character, a particular aspect of the film, etc. Step 3, watch your deep dive on demand with your name listed as executive producer.
Lock in your deep dive on demand today and hurry. Spots are limited.
This offer is not valid for filmmakers or distributors. Subject to availability and terms apply. Meanwhile, Lauren receives flowers at work. And she's doing her hustle and bustle of work. She got an assistant and everything. And the assistant's like, oh, look at these flowers. So then along with the flowers, she receives the photographs of Michael kissing Monica. So we know who sent them flowers. Nobody but Chance. So she's upset and she's like, oh my goodness. Oh, you know how she's flustered and she don't want to say like somebody just sent me pictures of my husband kissing a woman. So she's just keeping it to herself. She's like, oh, I just felt a little weak or whatever, you know. And so she's like, oh, well, let me get on the phone. The assistant's like, let me call the doctor. She's like, I don't need a doctor. She said, I said I was calling a doctor. So in the next scene, we see Lauren at the doctor. And the doctor is like, oh, you know, your symptoms are normal for being 6 to 8 weeks pregnant. So like every time we turn a corner, here goes some more stuff that's just dropping. You know, we done found out that Michael done been cheating and Monica is over there. Now she's pregnant. But I'm still in my mind like, okay, she only slept with dude last night. So this baby has got to be Michael's, right? Okay. So we don't know though, because we don't know what else is going to be revealed. So she calls Michael, Lauren does, and she tells him, you know, I'm pregnant or whatever. And then she's leaving the doctor's office or whatever. And the elevator door is closing. You know, another cliche move, you know, it's almost closed and a hand goes in and it's a black hand. And it was white people that was there before that. So, you know, that ain't nobody but Chance. And of course, it's Chance. He rushes in the elevator and he's talking like this baby is his. And Lauren is like, this is not your child. And Chance is like, well, you know, maybe your pregnancy is how God is giving my child back to me, you know, because his wife was pregnant and he lost both his wife and his child. So she's trying to run away from him and he's chasing behind her. And she was like, if there was any possibility that it could have been yours, I would get rid of this one too. Because, you know, because the implication is that, you know, she was pregnant by him before she had the abortion. And, that, you know, now she's like, if I thought it was yours, I would be getting rid of it. So next scene, we see Chance in the cemetery. He crashing out and whatever, crying and carrying on. And meanwhile, Michael is with Lauren and he confesses that he saw Monica, he's like, you know, that lady I was having that affair with, but I saw Monica, she came or whatever, but I broke it off. And he says this though, without her revealing the pics. So she now has a newly restored trust in him because he came to her and said, hey, I saw Monica, this is what happened. And I'm just letting you know. So she seems to have more confidence in him. And so things are improving. Meanwhile, when Michael and Lauren are in bed sleeping, we see this nightmare sequence where Chance comes in and he started rubbing on her or whatever. And he's telling it it's his baby. He got a gun to Michael and all that. It just was crazy. But of course, she wakes up from the nightmare. So later on, it kind of fast forward some time because next we see Lauren looking like, you know, very pregnant. Like we see a stomach now. And so she and Michael seem like they're very happy. They're nesting for their family, you know, going around shopping. It's Christmas time and they're in this store. Who do they see outside the store window but Chance? So they go out and they see him. She don't want to see no Chance, but he's like, oh, you know, let's hang out like old times or whatever.
See him.
She want to move on with her life. Okay. She is not thinking of that man. Y'all go to the comments. Did she really want to see Chance? She's just trying to have her baby with her husband, but you know, here go Chance. So he's like, let's hang out like old times. So Michael's stupid self was like, well, yeah, you know, and so Chance invites himself to their annual Christmas party and say he gonna show up over there. So then they have the party and we see the scene of people at the party. It's a number of different people. And of course, Chance show up to the party just looking crazy, just looking outwardly crazy, so crazy to the point that people see him and they think he look crazy, right? So Lauren sees Chance and then she accidentally drops a glass when she sees him at the party. Michael sees him. Michael comes to where she is and he's like, you know, I'm going to end the party early and have everybody leave. So Michael goes to drive Lauren's drunk assistant. I think her name was Vanessa. He goes to drive her home, leaving Lauren at home alone. And the drunk assistant is divulging in the car that Chance never left. So Chance is at the crib. So, you know, Michael got to do a quick U-turn because he got to go and save his wife from whatever is coming because he don't want her home by herself. He had to and go save his wife. So meanwhile, Chance starts, you know, he pops out because Chance gonna always pop out when nobody is there because Lauren was about to take a sip of some wine, right? So she's drinking alcohol even though she's pregnant. She's like, they one glass won't hurt. So she's taking a sip of that and he pops out right when she's about to drink and he starts spanking her with a belt because she's about to take a drink and he's like, you trying to hurt my baby? And she spits in his face and he backhands her and he like, don't make me hurt you. And she's like, and he's like, I love you. And, you know, so Michael returns just in time And because he has knocked Lauren to the ground. And so Lauren's on the ground. And Chance quickly is like, oh, she fell and I just discovered her. Lauren goes along with the lie. And she's like, yeah, I fell. And so, Michael is there and he's looking around and he like, all right, well then, Chance, you take Vanessa home. Chance like, I didn't drive. I took an Uber or whatever the heck. I took a cab. And Vanessa's still drunk and talking. But he's like, well, take my car, Chance. So he takes Michael's car. And he's like, I'll pick my car up from you tomorrow or whatever. So Vanessa and Chance are riding home, and Vanessa is drunk talking to Chance. You could tell he don't want to talk to her. But the next morning, Vanessa wakes up in Chance's bed after their night together. At least that seems like the implication. And Chance is in his studio of photography. He acting weird. She's like, oh, hey, good morning, da-da-da. Then she starts trying to flirt with him because she's wearing one of his shirts. And clearly she was dressed the night before, but she also had thrown up in the car. So, so he's acting weird while she's trying to talk to him. And she's like, oh, well, you took my clothes off, huh? And he's like, I just cleaned you up and I changed your clothes. So she keeps flirting with him. And Chance starts kissing Vanessa after she just won't take no for an answer. He like, all right then. He started kissing her. Then he just pulled the knife out and stabbed her like it's nothing. She gone. She just gone.
Bruh.
So
how did he get like this?
Yeah, because he had a dark side the whole time. And was he ever going to act a fool with his wife? Like, this is so insane. But if he had the dark side, it was always there. It's not like this thing he snapped and broke. He been showing signs.
So why did the wife even that need to happen to her at all?
I don't know.
I'm like, why is that in the movie?
So then Chance starts taking pictures of dead Vanessa and he developing pictures and stuff. Like, he just off his rocker. So the next thing, Michael shows up because he was coming to get the keys to his car so he can get his car back. And he tells Chance, look, I don't know if what you said last night was true, if she was on the floor or fell or what, but I'm telling you, you stay away from my wife. And Michael turns around and leaves, but then he winds up coming back a few minutes later because he done forgot his coat. Then when he comes back, he's looking around and then he sees Vanessa's dead body up in the back. So he's just like, oh man. Meanwhile, Chance is not at his house anymore. He over there at Michael's house, at Lauren's house, trying to get in, and Lauren to open the door. So luckily there was a man and a woman who were there with Lauren. And the man she was like, oh, he's trying to get in. And the man was like, okay, I'll go handle it. And he goes outside. Tell me why Chance done stabbed this man up. He done stabbed her. He done hit the woman with a
why was he dressed
golf
like
club.
that? He dressed like he was still in the 70s.
But he hit her. So he done took out the two people that were with Lauren. And now Lauren is running away. He chasing her through the house. So she finally, after a bunch of, how it is with these sequences, she finally holds a gun to him and stuff like that. And he's like, it ain't got no clip. So then he disarms her. But then the gun did have one in the chamber. So she could have took him on out, but she didn't. And so then she tries to play little psychology tricks on him. And she's like, oh, well, the baby is yours. I'm so happy. She trying to pull a fast one. He kind of falls for it a little bit, but he just all the way gone, and at one point he does smash her head into a mirror because, there's just a lot of back and forth happening at this point in the film. So just when Chance is about to stab Lauren, Michael shows up and he kicks his butt, and Chance is stabbed in the abdomen. Then, Lauren starts calling for Michael. Now, you got to finish off. We know this from any scary movie, from any psychological thriller. You got to finish off the bad guy. You don't go hugging and kissing while you still in danger. But he go over there anyway to Lauren, hugging and checking on her and all this and that. While he's doing that, he is literally about to stab Michael and does. And then Lauren shoots Chance and he falls over the banister down to his death, just like his wife fell to her death. So then Lauren and Michael look over the banister down at dead Chance, and then the movie ends. That's it.
And it's just over.
That's what happened in the movie. For those of you who don't know, you should visit axiom.app. And you'll be able to look at all of the recent videos across all of our channels. And I'm putting that on the screen right now just so y'all can see it and see what it looks like. Because there are a ton of videos that are over there. And also, I think that there are at least about 100 exclusive videos that are available for our Patreon members and our YouTube members. So if you're interested in more of our content, as I've seen many of you binge watching, be sure to check those things out. Yeah. So I was thinking about like, this was just kind of wild. Like, it was just a wild ride. First of all, had you seen the movie before?
Never.
Yeah, I had never even heard of this movie.
Nope.
I was like, what? And then all these famous people are in it. Like, how did we not know about this movie? But, go to the comments, y'all. Had y'all even heard or seen this movie before?
And tell us about other movies like around, because there was this period where there was a lot of those movies that were made with these stars that just didn't really bubble up like that.
And so many of them, and I don't know if this was one, but also in the 90s and 2000s, we had a lot of movies that went straight to video. So if you frequented the video store, you might have seen them, but
and
like
HBO
they weren't being run. Yeah, and HBO and Showtime and stuff.
Too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but so what did you think of the movie? Like, what happened in it?
Watching it 20 years later, it's 25 years later. It's, it's been done so many times.
Yeah. But at
so.
the time, you think you would have liked it more back then?
Yeah, it probably would have been the only one black
like
one,
this.
I think. I can't think of any others.
No, me neither. I mean, because later we had like the one with Beyonce with the Obsession, and we got ones later, but
Megan Good,
right? But maybe not this early, right?
Right.
So I think I definitely would have liked this. This would have been right up my alley, and even now, like I respect it for what it is because I do like the twist. Now with the plot, I did have some questions because, like you said, if he was gonna be that crazy, did his wife really have to die? But I think that, movies like to put us through an emotional roller coaster. And everybody knows, especially how they try to pull the heartstrings with the singing of the gospel music at the funeral. You got to make that extra sad. So we know that as well. And they were working on our heartstrings so that we would feel emotionally attached to these characters. But when I look at Lauren, even pregnant, like I've said this about other movies in the past, but I feel like, when the man gets to be happy, and I'm trying to remember a movie like this, but like where he does all this dirt and then he gets to be happy with his wife in the end after all the dirt that he does, it doesn't feel so good. And I'm going to say the same thing about Lauren here. Lauren, you done slept with your best friend's husband. You done slept with your husband's best friend, same dude, and you have betrayed your inner circle of friends. Okay? I don't care what problems you had with your husband. That's what you did. Then in the end, you got knocked up by your husband and you just feel like I want to have happily ever after, regardless of what emotional roller coaster you took this other person on in the process.
That's one of those double standards.
Yeah.
No, so, a man is going to be looked at more critically in that sense. So
I'm looking at both of them critically.
Well, I'm not talking about you.
I know. Look how crazy he looked on that screen. He was looking so crazy, y'all.
So, they just get to live on with them and whatever, I guess. But I don't know why it just seemed like they abruptly stopped the movie.
Well, here's my question. Does it make it different? The fact, so Lauren and her husband were both cheating, okay? Because Michael was cheating with Lauren, so he was for the streets. And Michael was cheating with Monica, the girl he kissed on the rooftop. And Lauren was cheating with his best friend, Chance.
Yeah, see, they both broke it off, though.
Was one worse than the other?
Probably, but they both broke it off. So
y'all were both kind of trash individuals for a period in time in terms of just disrespecting your marriage. And then you both agreed that you were going to work on it and you want to be together. So, I guess that's all right. I just look at it like,
but
ugh.
One of them really did bring in this super crazy guy like this.
And it was him. That's your friend.
It was her.
It was both of them.
No, her actions is probably maybe
him?
Why he act like that. I can't say for sure though, because that's a problem with the plot, right? That her actions caused him to act like this. Yeah, because he was obsessed over her and their relationship. And then she didn't stop. Not even when, she go and comfort him like this, like it's his woman after his wife because
died. It was the way she held him that I was like, okay, that's a little awkward. Like, I don't care what happened. I don't imagine myself cradling another man like in your presence or out of your presence in that way. If he needs it, then I would be like, so and so, go to him.
Go to-
Because it's inappropriate. I'm not gonna. Now, if it's my family member, if it was my, sibling or something, then I'm gonna hug you. But she was hugging him like that was her man. Like your man. Well, it was, and we just didn't know it at that point. So yeah, that's inappropriate. Like, no. And you know what I'm saying? You don't want your man putting their arms up around a woman like that, either. Like, it's just, there's some boundaries that I'm gonna respect and that I would hope would be respected. Now, what other people choose to do in these scenarios is their business. But I was just like, But the other thing I always wondered about like couple friend groups is that, all right, if everybody was going to cheat anyway, why y'all just didn't swing together at this point?
Because they were both being private. You would have to tell the person. Because,
okay, so the only one who we don't know was cheating, and maybe probably was Roberta, who was Chance's wife. The other three were cheating anyway.
But we do know that what women claim, it's probably not the case in 2025, that it's more of an emotional thing with them, right?
Oh,
so
cheating,
if the woman is with the dude, and chances are, I do believe that with these men, well, not this, not Chance, but your boy was just getting his rocks off.
Okay, so you're saying Michael was just getting his rocks off with Monica,
and she was just in a full blown relationship.
Yeah,
and I don't think swinging is conducive to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also say it probably isn't conducive if you were swinging with your friends, because the other part is that if feelings get involved, then that just is ruining a lot of things.
Then it's just,
whereas
it's probably better that way. It's just 4 friends who are basically in a relationship.
All 4 of them just co-living. But the problem with that is just that, all right, what if 2 of the people are the most desirable in the sense that everybody wants these 2? So the 2 women want a certain man the most, and the 2 men want one woman. Then that's going to leave 2 people out.
That's what happened with every relationship, though.
Which is why threesomes are problematic.
Yeah, they have to all find one where that's not the case, and it's ideal for everyone.
Well, and that's called the unicorn. And it just
is it? No, it's just called.
You're looking for the unicorn, like the people who are looking for their third or whatever. Like if it's a couple and they're like, I'm gonna have a third or a fourth, whatever. It's the unicorn.
No, it's not. It's just like, let's say it's a relationship with just 2 people, a couple.
Yeah. Is
it a unicorn to find somebody you're compatible with?
No.
Yeah. So adding a third is, I think, similar, and adding a 4th. It's just, you just have to find that.
But it requires more than compatibility to be able to navigate a threesome type of relationship. Like, these polygamy and whatever, polyandry, all that, because it's more than just being compatible with the one person. You got to be able to get along with the woman. Like, let's just say if the man has 2 women, with the woman and the man, we got to be sister wives.
I agree it's more complex, but yeah.
Which requires more skills and personality and mindsets to be able to. So that's more than
like
just
even
being
having
compatible.
A group of friends. It requires all that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, but I would just, I just kind of threw that out there. I'm like, if everybody was going to cheat, y'all could have just kept it simple. But actually, if I was going to make a recommendation for people who wanted to be cheating in those situations, I would have just said each of them couples could have been swinging, and then everybody could have been happy. But I suggest that Roberta probably wasn't a cheater, right? So Roberta was wanting to be faithful to Chance, and Chance, but the other part is, was Chance cheating with other women, or was Chance just obsessed with his friend's wife the whole time and maybe had wanted her for himself and somehow.
But they were already together ahead of time, right? They kind of made Chance and
it was
Lauren.
Like they had some history
before them.
But it wasn't before, because then Lauren wouldn't have said she betrayed. So maybe they had a history, they married who they married, and they were all friends together, and then they also had the affair.
Your boy was like, it should have been us.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't know. Y'all shake that out for us if you've seen this film. But I would say that it's very awkward. I would say it is dangerous. It was dangerous the whole time for them, knowing their interaction and history, to be hanging like that. And it's kind of like related. We covered this film, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. A lot of you guys haven't seen it. I'm going to link it in the description, but we covered it on the other channel. And one of the things it talks about is kind of like this idea of people who click, people who have this kind of attraction. And if you set up a situation every time they come and encounter each other, because it was like about memory loss and that, I won't get all into that film, but just for context, it's like if somebody doesn't have a memory of the other person, but you put these two people with these same traits and skills, and each of them have the same desires and likes, they gonna hit it off. Right. So if you got that kind of chemistry with your husband's best friend, it's best for y'all not to be around each other like this. If you want to keep your marriage happy, if you trying to do what you do over here, like to have that kind of thing there, potentially stressing the situation is not a great thing. But because they kept that secret and they didn't want it to be out and whatever, look at what happened. Because eventually over time, like they may have resisted it every time, but then that one time, right? Or that 2 times, well, however many times it was, prior to the film starting to roll, because how many times are you going to, it's like trying to have a batting average, to bat right every time. You got to be at 100%. And we're all fallible. We all have make mistakes. And so are you going to be at your best every single day, that every time you interact with this person that you could have a potential weakness with? It's better to not be interacting with this person. Because even if you batting a 90, that means that 10% of the time you giving up them draws to this dude. I'm just keeping it real. Or 10% of the time you going to actually go all the way with this woman. And that's going to hurt people around you. And so, I don't know. I just think that a little wisdom with it and being realistic, because sometimes people have unrealistic expectations of what they will be able to do and resist. Oh, I ain't going to do that. And then she get to kissing on your neck, or he get to doing whatever he does, and it's over. Just like we saw in this movie. Her defenses were down. And when he started, she couldn't stop it, or, and I guess I got to go back to what you said. She wanted it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was interesting. This was an interesting ride, because I wound up, we've been doing these deep dive on demands, and there are a few movies that I had not seen. I thought I had seen every movie practically, but there were a few that I hadn't seen. And so I thought this was really interesting. But I have another question, because back to the whole idea of madness and grief and stuff. Do you think that the tragedy of the loss of his wife and child made him, I'm going to just use crazy, not in a derogatory sense, but just to kind of quickly to convey.
Yeah, okay. I think whatever he had going on, it may have, did more, right?
But something was already there to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it takes this other barrier out the way. You got your wife and that life, and then when that's not there, then now I could just live out how I wanted to live. Or not wanted to, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay, so do you think, because remember when Chance made the statement, like, I got to get rid of her husband first, do you think that that his goal was to actually kill Michael? Like, he was willing to go up and to the point of killing Michael to make sure he could have her? Because at first he was just trying to make her leave Michael, right? Sending the paper, sending the pictures, and hopefully she would just leave him, and then he would have his chance.
And then when he got to their house, he was trying to cut her up.
So like it was just deranged. It was very deranged. What I would say is I think the film would have hit harder if we don't have the line of Michael saying he's got a dark side, right? Because I like it better if it comes out of nowhere. I like it better if he's normal. He's a wonderful, upstanding guy. He wasn't a cheater. He did everything right. They didn't have this history of cheating and the abortion, and he just goes.
They
totally
just needed
mad.
A way to put it, to warn her. But they just didn't do it in the best possible way. I don't know. Or a better way. I don't know. I can't think of it.
Well, and why are you, if he got a bad side, like, look, I'm just keeping 100. Like, why are you bringing a dude with a dark side up around your wife like that? But then I go back to maybe with them all 4 being friends, it's not that he brought his friend, like maybe it just kind of happened. Versus
but I'm not hanging out with you all the time like that either.
Yeah. Like, you got a dark side player. I got a wife. Like that would be the kind of leadership I would expect in a situation.
You got a dark side, I got a life. Like,
and I'm trying to live. So there's that. So I do explore though how, if the plot was a little slightly different, how it could have played out and whether it would have hit differently for me that way.
I don't think it made much difference to me though.
Well, what about, so I still go back to the sympathy thing though. Like, it's hard. I really did not have very much sympathy for what happened to Lauren in here, even though that dude was crazy. Cause I kind of go back to, if you had never been sleeping with this man in the first place, you wouldn't have found. Now that doesn't mean you deserved what happened. I'm just saying
or they could have made it that he interpreted what was going on as that. Right, because she was being comforting and stuff, and they just should have left out the cheating thing.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know. But then I guess so clearly they wanted us to look at her as some type of trash individual on some level, because she had to have had this abortion by a man and be trying to hide this pregnancy by another man. And I don't think we did, and I think it maybe is even a better movie because of that. Because in the end. But maybe the point is reconciliation. Maybe the point is everybody having smut on their rep and then still being like, we can get past this. Maybe that's ultimately
because the way they ended it, it was just over and you didn't show any resolution in their relationship.
Well, and what it is us against the world. It's like, you know what it reminds me of is Baby Boy. You know how they had all them troubles and they bickering and he ain't doing right and this and that and whatever.
But they showed them together in the end.
But in the end, they showed them together. But what else it is? We both got smut on our rep now, because she has smut on her rep at the end of Baby Boy, because she knows that he took her baby daddy out.
But we know
not her baby daddy. She knows that he took out her ex-boyfriend Rodney, right? So,
but we know that they were really together at the end and they patched it up.
And so did this couple here. Well,
no, they didn't. The dude died and it was over.
Well, what I'm saying is,
split up after that.
Why would they split up when they were together before? They were, nothing came out. Like, all was forgiven. Well,
tragedy that was brought into their home by one of them.
Well, how about the fact that Michael never finds out that she was pregnant and had the abortion? So
he could find out that it ain't his baby.
But how could it not be his baby? Because there's
the new baby.
Yeah.
Because they were smashing the whole time, right?
No, they weren't. And that's why she was like, this is not your baby. There's no chance it could be your baby.
That's what women always say, and it happened. We've seen a whole TV show about that.
This is facts. But I mean, I was trying to go off of what the film was showing me, but there's reason to believe it's not. I mean, so y'all go to the comments with this, just based on what we said, because maybe a lot of y'all haven't seen it. Like, what do you think about this? Because this is just crazy. It is crazy, but it's hard when when nobody is spotless. You know what I'm saying? Except Roberta was spotless in here, because we don't have any evidence that she did anything that was
probably was Michael's
wrong.
Baby anyway.
Shut up. What if they both had knocked each other's? Okay, so how does that work out? I don't know why my mind works like this. All right, so what if they both
kind of like
what if they both were swinging unbeknownst to the other couple, right? And they both got knocked up and they both had each other's husband's baby. Like, could they have survived that as if, that's kind of sick and weird, but I mean, how would that work out?
What you
like,
mean?
Are y'all still
it's just
friends?
Your own baby.
Are y'all
right?
Well, it's your own baby if you're the woman, but if you're the husband, you're taking care of the baby that is.
Yeah, but then you just assume it as yours, right?
But then what if you want to be closer
for thousands of years?
That's still how it's done today. That's why folks are talking about Cardi B's situation. But I don't know. Like, how does that? I mean, can they still move on? Can they still, because everybody committed in that situation, everybody will have committed the same offense.
Yeah.
Y'all still hanging out at the fair?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know, but this was a wild ride. And I want to thank Regis Hale, the executive producer of this video, for pointing this film out, bringing it to our attention, because we sure didn't know. If there are more movies that we don't know about, y'all need to be telling us. And be sure to thank Regis in the comments, y'all, because he brought an interesting story to us.
If you made it this far, type roller coaster in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to visit axiom.app, where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place. And there are links to them back on YouTube so you can watch them here. Also visit axiom.app for our new merch, hoodies and tees.